What's up, everyone? It's been 6 months since my last video, and at the time of that video, Bitcoin was around 103,000 per Bitcoin, and the market was around 3.25 trillion. Now, today's video, and I'm recording this Tuesday night, December 2nd. Today, the market is around 3.14 trillion, and Bitcoin is sitting around 93,000 per Bitcoin. Now, before we jump into my thoughts on the market, a few metas that I have my eye on, and also just a couple of memes that I still think are in pretty good standings. You're going to want to watch this one all the way through. But before we dive into that, let's kind of talk about the elephant in the room real fast. Now, again, I said at the beginning I was gone about 6 months. Now, since then, a lot kind of transitioned in my life, far as I created a couple businesses, I moved, I had a major transition personally that happened in my life that I had to organize out, but life is good. We back. Now, I don't plan on taking that long again from the channel, but again, I did want to just kind of put that out there for you guys. Everything is good my way. Now, let's kind of talk about the thoughts on the market. Now, we kind of have two different narratives going on. Number one, we have people saying the crypto bull market is over. And then the second narrative, we have people saying the 4-year cycle is dead. Now, this is very interesting. And if we look at the past two cycles, typically around this time, Bitcoin has lost a lot more steam than what it has now. And as I mentioned before, just a 6-month gap, the market was at 3.25 trillion and Bitcoin was at 103,000. Now today, 3.14 trillion overall crypto market and Bitcoin sitting at 93,000. So for me as a personal investor, this is kind of what I saw took place. Now, this is not going to be the same story for every single person because people were invested in different things and things of that nature. Now, for me, I noticed a lot of altcoins actually hit their all-time high well before Bitcoin actually took off. And that's technically the opposite of what usually happens in the crypto cycle. And I think what that did was it threw a lot of people off because some people may not have took profits because they feel, well, it may have pumped now, but it's too early, so it's going to pump again. And some projects never pumped again. They did their pump, and it was technically before the full-on bull market actually got here. And let me know if you experienced any of that with any cryptos you held down in the comment section, because I definitely experienced some of that on top of some of the ones I've even talked about here on the channel. They actually pumped. They just pumped way sooner than expected. Now, so my thoughts on the overall market. Do I think the crypto bull run is over? I'm going to say yes and no. And the reason why I say yes is because the bull run we're used to seeing, that's not here anymore. Those unicorn gains where you can just throw money in the sea and make a lot of money, that's over. You have to be a little bit more strategic. You have to have a little bit more logic and just honestly kind of follow the money on where things are going. And this is how you're going to make money during this kind of transition. And for me, I look at the market as more or less of kind of like a neutral. I don't look at it as we're in a bear market, and I don't look at it as we're in a full-on bull market. I think things are kind of just in a neutral. And if you look at some of the major news, there are banks and major companies that are getting on even more with crypto, which gives us that legitimacy. And the reason why this is good is because this is what's going to bridge the gap to help bring people on who are still skeptical about getting on in crypto. Now, that's kind of my thoughts on the market. And then also I do want to say this. Overall, do I think there's still opportunity in the market? Absolutely. There's always going to be opportunity in the market, but I do think overall, even for a beginner investor, now you do want to still be careful, but at this time of the market, I do like the fact that things aren't overhyped. And I didn't want to come back when everything was green either, when everything was overhyped. Now, things have kind of took a quick turn and started to turn back bullish. Everything is green at this time. But again, you want to be very careful. But I still think there is a lot of opportunity here in the market. All right, so now that we talked about my thoughts on the market and the opportunity in the market, let's kind of talk about what do I have my eye on at this time, right? And these are going to be some different narratives and messages. metas. Now, I'm not going to go all the way into these, and I'm going to save those for other videos up and coming, but I do want to kind of give you a brief overview on where my head is at. Now, number one, we have, far as the metas, we have, of course, the privacy meta, right? Zcash really led the way, but just the privacy, sector in general is something I have my eye on. Not specifically just Zcash, because of course that's an easy bet right now, right? And of course you want to be careful as it's retracing a little bit. So we have the privacy meta. We also have the AI agent meta as well, which I think is only going to get stronger. And then, of course, we have the betting or the future prediction market narrative as well. And so I do think these three narratives are going to create a lot of opportunity for investors like you and me if we're patient and kind of, search out the right ones. But again, these are three narratives I do think you should keep your eye on. Now, I'm not going to get into anything individual in those specific sectors and narratives. I'm going to save those for other videos, but those are some things I have my eye on. And then when we talk about some specific metas or ecosystems, Base, the Binance ecosystem, and I still like the Solana ecosystem as well. And so those are the three ecosystems I'm also looking into. And so that's basically a list of 6. So we have 3 ecosystems, and then we have 3 kind of narratives, so to speak. So quick run through on that. So if we look at the narratives, we have the privacy narrative or sector, the AI sector, and we have the future prediction sector. And then when we look at the ecosystems, we have the Base ecosystem, we have the Binance ecosystem, and I still do like the Solana ecosystem, right? And so when we talk about the Base ecosystem, one reason why I'm still really bullish on it is because, number one, it has Coinbase backing it. And as I said a little bit earlier in this video, Coinbase, the regulation is actually going to help Coinbase bring on new people, right? Because remember, Coinbase is basically the largest face when it comes to crypto for the US, and they're also the largest the largest crypto exchange in the US as well, right? Of course, we know Binance is the largest exchange globally, but when we're talking about in the US, right, which is one of the most profitable, countries in crypto, it's the largest one. So I think that is very important. And with them still trying to onboard 1 billion users and I believe 1 million developers, that legitimacy is going to help bridge that gap and bring people on. And you have the developers that are growing on the chain. It's one of the most profitable chains as well. And so with millions of transactions also, so things are actually growing as well. Now, we've seen a lot of projects come and go, but there is still one project I do really like on there, which we're going to briefly get to in a second. Now, when we talk about the Binance chain, we know that CZ has been phenomenal when it comes to building out that chain, standing behind it, and just kind of putting his money where his mouth is with different projects here and there, right? And so with that being said, there's a lot of talk as well with Asterdex also, and I think a lot of people may be forgetting about the OG. And I really like Cake, for example, Pancake Swap, right? Now, I'm not telling you to go ahead and buy this or anything, but this is just something I'm looking at inside the Binance ecosystem, right? I think it's still going to help fund a lot of traffic, which is going to be beneficial to holders who may be getting a little bit earlier, right? Because I still think there's a lot on that bone, even though it's had a massive run up over time and kind of consolidated at a lower price. I still think there's some opportunity there, just my personal opinion. And so this last segment we're going to dive into, we're going to briefly touch on 3 meme coins that are still in good standing, in my personal opinion, that still have some pretty good potential. Now, these aren't low caps or anything like that. So if you're expecting 100x or 50x or something like that, you want to look for some other projects. Now, again, I know I don't need to say this. We're all smart enough to know, but of course, this isn't financial advice. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts and things that I'm personally into as an investor in crypto. Now, number one, as I said, I was going to briefly get to on Base is Toshi, right? Sitting around 170 million, I believe, at the time of this video, right? So it's definitely not a low cap, and it's definitely had a nice run up, and it's also on the Base chain, which I still think has the potential to be the #1 token in all of base, right? Just my personal opinion. I've said this in previous videos. Number 2, we have Turbo, which is on ETH, right? I still think Turbo can do very well. I still think it has very high potential. Also 100+ million token as well in the meme sector. Very well known, very legit as well. The third one I want to talk about is SNEC, which I was super early into SNEC, well over 100+ million on the Cardano chain, and I still think it has a lot of potential. Right now, I'm not going to give you guys any type of predictions on what I can see. Again, I told you these aren't projects you want to get into, you know, for 100 or 50x or anything like that. This is not what you want to do. Again, these are just some meme coins that I still think, with all of the fluctuations in the market, these have been able to stand very well for the test of time. Community is still very strong, still have a strong belief, which is very needed in crypto, and also for any project to make it long term. So again, let me know down in the comment section if you made it this far. I really appreciate it. Smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new to the channel, thanks for coming back, and I will catch you all on the next one.